Today I'm going to show you how to create your very own animatronic witch using these very simple step-by-step guides that I've created. This will look amazing in your Halloween decorations and can be done over the span of a few days. So join me for the ride. So in order to start building our amazing animatronic witch, we're going to have to go to the hardware store. Now I've made it easy for everyone watching because I've listed everything that you'll need down here. So make sure to pause this. Here are more materials and the actual quantities that you need of all of these materials. Since I'd never created a witch before, I drew it out, put some measurements on it, and then created an awesome, easy to follow diagram that I've made free to everybody. The link is in the description below, and I hope it helps you build your own witch. So as you begin cutting your PVC, you're going to want to use a marker to write down the name of the part of the body that it's going to go on. Because this way, you won't get confused, you won't mix anything up, and it'll make it super simple to follow. So once you're done cutting all your PVC pieces, this is what your setup should look like. I've arranged it from the top down to make it super simple to follow. So let's start with the bottom of the witch. This is what I like to call her feet. You're going to need 4 sections of PVC, each at 12 inches. Use your T-connectors to attach the feet together. While we assemble this, I really quickly wanted to say thank you to Kelly Miller from South Carolina because her witch build inspired mine and she helped me throughout the process. She has a love and passion for Halloween and you should definitely check out her YouTube page. I'm linking it below. Next, we're going to attach the lower legs. Each lower leg is 15 inches. Make sure to put the T-connectors on the top of the lower legs. Attach the lower support bar. This one is 13.5 inches. Next, add your knee supports. These are 5 inches long each. Next, attach the 45-degree connectors on the top of the knee supports. The upper legs are 18 inches long. Attach those as well. Let's put the 90-degree connectors on the upper legs, but make sure they're facing inside. So this is how it should look like so far, but I wanted to pause here so I can show you guys something that I did in error, but we're going to fix it right now. So for the hip supports, we actually need 1-inch PVC pieces like this. They're going to go right in here. And then you get your T's like this, and then put it right in there, facing up. Then, for the hip support, I actually listed a longer piece. I had to cut it. This is 8 inches, an 8-inch hip support piece that goes right in here. Bam, and that's how you do the hip support. Okay, so now we're going to touch the ribs, but it's very important that the hip support is leaning forward. So you want to make sure that these T's are leaning in a forward motion. You grab your ribs, which are 22.5 long, and then you can put them in like this. So I made my witch a little bit taller. So if you don't want it as tall, you can cut the ribs smaller. So you can do 20 or 19 inches, but I went with 22.5 because I want it to be about a 6-foot tall witch. And then you can adjust it, either forward or back. But none of this is supposed to move once you apply the PVC glue. Then it'll be solid in whatever state you left it. So make sure you get it in the right angle. Alrighty, now for the lean. You definitely want your witch to be leaning forward, but how much so? So all I like to do, or maybe I should put it right over here, is imagine myself as a gnarly witch stirring the pot. So I'm leaning over, but this one's leaning too much. So how about like that? Yep, see? That's much better. You don't want to lean too much. It might tip too far back. It'll be too straight up. So like this. And that's how you know how much to lean. So once you know where your pieces are going to go, I like to use PVC glue just so that everything stays solidified together. And just put some on the inside right there. And put your piece inside. This piece over here needs to be in this particular shape, so that's why I'm keeping it flat so I know how it needs to be cemented together. There we go. This one over here needs some on the inside. There we go. And last but not least, this little 1-inch piece over there. There we go. And voila. It's flat, it's good. There we go. There, it's good. Now we wait a few minutes and it'll be dry. So I'm not going to be gluing the entire witch together. And the reason is that once Halloween is over and I need to put it away, I want to be able to break it down into smaller pieces. So the bottom half of the legs are solid one piece, but then these will just come off like that. This will be attached to the ribs so that it can be 2 pieces or even 3 pieces, easier to store. But if you want, you can glue your entire witch together. Just make sure you know what angles to put on, because once you put that glue, it's done. You have a few seconds before it hardens, so you have to be very precise when using PVC glue. So now we're doing the ribs attached to the legs. Now this part is very important because once we put the glue on, we have but a few seconds to ensure we have the right angle, and we want to make sure we get it right. So I eye it before I do it, and I'm like, okay, we got this. Healthy amount on the inside. Just coat that inside real good like that. Then we get our first one, and then we go in all the way. I come up here to make sure that the angle is the one I want. Just a little bit more. There we go, like that. We got it. So we got a little bit left. And then we coat the inside. We put this one in. Bam. So now we have the head, part of the neck, and what I like to call the spine. It has to be set up in this shape over here. You have the neck at 9.5 inches. You have the elbow. You have the small neck, which is 3.5 inches. You have the T. You have another part of the small neck, which is 2.5 inches. And then you have another T on top. And then you have the small neck, which is 2.5 inches. An elbow. And what I like to call the spine, which is 19.5 inches. This is what the motor will be attached to, allowing the motion of the head to go back and forth. But actually, this one isn't going to go like this, since this is for the shoulder. This one will actually be like that. But we're not going to attach any of this with glue right away. We're going to set it up, see how it looks, okay? And here we have it. This is what it should look like. Make sure before you put this final piece, I like to put it like this on the ground to make sure that all pieces are flat, because sometimes it could be up like that. You want to make sure everything's flat. And then this piece, this T over here, would go like this. This is the head. This is the spine, what I like to call. And these are where the shoulders are going to go. So it's just going to go back and forth like that. Okay, so now for the head, the shoulders attachment, we're going to use our T's right over here like this. There we go. Then we have our small shoulder pieces that we cut earlier. The left shoulder piece, which is going to be this one, is cut at 2.5 inches. It goes right in there. The right shoulder is 3 inches. It goes right in here. Then we're going to do the clavicle. But this clavicle is 1/2 inch PVC pipe. Everything else is 3/4 of an inch. And for this one, we need it to be smaller because this is going to go on the inside so that it can freely swing once we attach the motor to the bottom like that. So now that I've glued all the pieces in the neck and the spine, you grab your clavicle piece, slide it right in there, and this one just goes in like that. So now when you put the motor on the bottom, it goes like this. We're getting there, slow and steady. So now we're going to talk about the motor. I got this one. I'm going to list the link below where I got it from. And we need to, this particular brand has this little arm over here. We need to remove the arm. So there is a little screw right there. We're going to remove the screw and remove this arm because we need just that little metal piece that's on the inside of it. There we go. Now you have this little metal piece here and it has a hole, and that's what we need to attach everything to. So the motor is going to go attached to the left rib, which is this one. And the way we're going to attach it is by removing one screw on the top, one screw on the bottom, so that it's like this. Then, once we remove these two screws, or whichever screw you prefer, but I'm going to do these two over here, we're going to screw in from the back two long screws that will be able to go inside of these holes right here. Like that. Attach from the opposite side two screws, and then your motor is attached to the body. So to attach the 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙘 to the motor, I'm going to be using a number 4-40 1-inch machine screw. And I'm going to attach it right here to this little metal nub. Here I'm just getting a marker and marking the PVC where I think the screw should go. Okay, now it's time to attach the motor to the actual rib cage. I have it like this so we know how much clearance we have on the bottom. So I've already marked on the opposite side. We're going to put two screws. The screws are going to go through the PVC pipe and connect into these holes. And these holes, all you have to do is remove one screw on the top and one screw on the bottom from any side on the top, any side on the bottom, and then you're going to screw it in through the back. It's going to go like this. One hole and two holes. So once we get our screws, they should fit in real nicely and snug once we put it in through the back. So now we're going to attach the motor, and I'm using these 2.5-inch exterior screws. I just found them lying around, but you can just use anything. I believe it could go up to 1/5/8 also, but I'm just using that 2.5. Got this right here, right over here. There we go. I'm going to drill in, and then you're going to just move it into place. And there. There we go. So you don't want to go all the way in. We basically just wanted it to be able to be attached really nicely like that. All of this is going to be covered, so it doesn't matter if the screws are sticking out like that. I didn't want to go too deep on the bottom one because it seemed like it was separating a bit. But for now, we've got it. We've got the clearance on the bottom. The plugs are on the back of the winch. And now we need to attach the second piece that goes to this one over here. Okay, so now we have the connecting piece. This one is too long though. So we want to cut it in half. We really just need about 10 of these holes. So I'm going to bend it right there where the 10 would be. And you're just going to bend it back and forth, and bam, you have it. So this one's right here is going to go attached to the bottom of the 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬, and this one over here to the bottom of the PVC. Not really the bottom, but about 4 inches from the bottom. And we're going to use pins to do it. I'm going to show you right now. Okay, now I'm going to show you a close-up view of one of the most critical pieces. We have this right over here, this piece here. That's already, remember we cut it in half. We have our 𝙬𝙬𝙬𝙬, and then we have cotter pins. So I'm going to pause right here because these cotter pins did not work. These, on the other hand, were perfect for the job. They're from Lowe's, and I'm going to link them down below. We're going to grab one cotter pin, and we're going to put this metal piece on the outside, not the inside, on this side. Then we're going to put a cotter pin on the bottom. We're just going to put it through. There we go. And then on the other side, we're going to drill this one on the right side of what we like to call the spine. And I just like to level it like this. Get our marker, do a general dot where you want it. There we go. Then we put this piece like this. And we're going to put our cotter piece inside. So again, I'm going to stop right here because at this point I switched over to machine screws because the old style cotter pins were not working. I put on the new machine screws and those were not working either. So at the end we used the cotter pins that I've linked below from Lowe's. So I wanted to show you something real quick on the motor and the hurricane tie. I use these bolts with nuts, but every time the motor starts going, it's very wonky and very wobbly. So we're going to use these. They're called cotter pins. I'm going to link them below. You can find them in the screw and nail section at your local hardware store. So we're going to put these right here instead so we can see if it gets a better, stronger fit. So I have my needle nose pliers right here and we have our cotter pin. I'm just going to put this one down like that. And right through that one, through the hole in the PVC. And we're on the opposite side. So once on the opposite side, we can just try to bend these bad boys. Grab it. There you go. Bend it down. And bend one upwards. So we're going to try that one out to see how it is, and then this one as well. I'm going to use a smaller cotter pin for this one. This one's 1 inch. Put them in there. Actually, I think it might be 1 1/4 inches. That's it. We turn them up like that. So when it came time to find a face for my witch, I went with a non-traditional look. You can go with whatever look you want. Just make sure you put cardboard on the inside of the mask and then fill it with expanding foam. I'm using window and door expanding foam, which doesn't expand that much, which is perfect for these small spaces that you're filling. I personally like letting my expanding foam rest for about 8 hours or overnight before I start working with it. After it's dry, just make a hole in the foam and stick it into the neck pipe. So now we're moving on to attaching the arms. I'm doing the right arm first. So I've already assembled it, I haven't glued it together, but this is the shape that I want. You can give it any shape. Before you glue it though, make sure you assemble your arm onto it so you can see what you like. Some people like the arm to be lower, some people like it to be higher. Personally, I'm going to do one that the arm is like this at this level. So when I glue it in, I want it to be like that. I want the elbow to come up to the middle of my chest like that. And I think that's a good motion right there. So I'm going to glue this arm first before gluing it to the shoulder, just to make sure that it's done correctly. Because once it's glued, you're donezo. Also, to prevent the head from moving left to right while in use, put 2 screws, one on either side of the T-connector, attached directly to the clavicle. This will prevent the neck from moving to the left or to the right while the motor is in use. Now that we've glued the right arm on, we need to do the left one. The left one isn't going to get glued on though. We're going to make a hole right here. We're going to attach some zip ties. The zip ties are going to be attached to the other PVC pipe. And then we're going to put a pool noodle on top of that. So it's kind of like a free floating arm. I'll show you in a second. So first drill your hole. Bam! So once you're done drilling holes over here, you also need to drill them on your left arms. The upper arm and the lower arm. You'll drill 2 holes right here. 2 holes right here. And then on the lower arm, 2 holes right there, but nothing on the bottom where the hand's going to go. And that's where the zip ties are going to go. And on top of that, it'll be pool noodles. So like the arm will be like, bah. So for the arms, we're going to be using pool noodle pieces on top of the PVC. This is just the regular pool noodle that I found at the Dollar Tree. I cut it to the approximate shape of each section of the arm. Once we put that on top, we can put our little zip ties connected here and then connected to the arm. I'll show you how. this is what it should look like. I put my pool noodle on top of the PVC. I've left a little bit out on the top. And now let's attach the zip ties right here. So one right here. Then we grab the one that is, there we go. We grab this arm, which is the upper section. Actually, we're going to put it right in here. You're going to put the zip tie through both of these, and then zip tie them. So it should be free floating just like that. You're going to do the same thing to the bottom arm so that you have your arm that's just like this. So now we're going to attach the hand to its arm. And we got these on Amazon. They're pretty awesome. We got a screw right there, and we're going to screw it about so. There we go. Perfect. And then you got your hand like that. To finish it off, we need to apply chicken wire to the back and chest of the witch. We're only doing this to protect the motor, because otherwise the clothing or sheets or whatever you put on it would prohibit the motor from spinning. So you definitely need to make sure that you make it big enough to allow the motor to move in the inside. I creatively dressed her in things I found, and this is how it came out.